This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we'll be piping Buttercream Prairie Roses. It's broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. Today we're going to be making two colors, a light pink and then a nice yellow to go with it. And we're going to start with our pink. I've got some American style buttercream in my bowl. You could use Swiss or Italian meringue if you prefer. And we're going to use two liquid gel colors to color it. Neon bright pink and lemon yellow. And I've just got some of each out here on a lid because I'm going to make pretty light shades. So I'm just going to start with a few specks of that bright pink. And just mix it around till I get a nice little pastel shade. And these flowers come in a wide range of pinks, so if you want to make something more vibrant, you can always look them up and pick a different shade and go a little more intense. I think just a little more. There we go. I just wanted to get up to the level that I'm looking for. Just a nice soft pink for us to work with today. For our yellow, we don't need very much. We're just making some centers and a few little stamens. So I'm just going to do a little bit of yellow and just some nice kind of heavy specks of that lemon, just to give us a little bit more vibrant shade on our centers. I want something that's kind of a bit more saturated than the pink that I made, just to really kind of draw our attention to those nice, big, frilly, bright, vibrant centers. We're going to use two bags for this flower, both 12-inch disposable. You can see my yellow has a coupler because I'm going to be changing tips, and we'll use the following tips. With our bag of pink, we'll be using a 123. You can see this is a large, curved petal tip. With our yellow, we'll be using both a number 6 and a number 1. We're going to review our techniques now. The first thing we're going to do is pipe a support ring. I want to do this kind of on the outside edge of our flower nail, just tracking in a tiny bit, and we're looking to give the outside edge of our petals some support and help them curve up and stay up and support that buttercream, but also to help connect everything together. So for this, we're just going to hold our bag kind of straight up and down, just above the surface, and we're going to squeeze while we turn our nail, and that's going to lay down a nice little ring for us that gives us a nice little support for the outside edge of our petals. For our petals, we're going to be holding our bag at 45 degrees. Back end is kind of at 130, so think on the right side, but up a little bit. And the fat end is going to anchor towards the center. The skinny end is going to be pointing out, and we're going to draw a heart shape. And as we move out, we just want to rock up a little bit and then rock down. So you can see I'm doing this kind of motion with my tip just a little bit, and that's to help encourage that little cupped edge of those petals we're getting, because we're using a curved petal tip, to rise up even more. And it's going to happen even a little bit more on our nail because we'll be going on top of that support ring that we already made. So it'll give us something to slide up and over and really push them up and give them a nice curved shape at the end. For our stamens on this flower, we're going to do spikes with our number 1. Same as always, we're going to squeeze, let a dot of frosting build up, and we're going to pull out. And some of them we're just going to lay flat against the surface of our petals, and some of them we're going to pull just up a little bit. So think about pulling out and along the curve of your petals and then pulling almost at like a 45-degree angle. That way some of them will have a little height and won't be laying completely flat on your petals, and you'll have a little bit of dimension for these and a little bit of texture and kind of movement in there. And there's going to be a lot of them. So you can kind of go wild and crazy with these, and they don't have to be in any specific orientation. Our centers, we're also going to use a dot. We're going to use a number 6 tip because we want a nice big dot. And we want to think about being above the surface, but just a little closer than normal because we want it to be a little bit flatter. So just think about going nice and close and squeezing a nice flat disc kind of dot. So just a lower profile dot that's kind of like smooth on the top, almost like a little button. To build our prairie rose blossom, we're going to start with our bag with our 123 and pipe a ring. We're going to be on a 3-inch flower nail, and we just want to come in about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. So we're right there kind of by the outside, but not completely on the outside edge of our nail. So just track in a tiny bit. We're going to hold it straight up, squeeze while we spin, and pipe a nice little ring of frosting for ourselves just to give the outside edge of our petals a little extra height. Then we're going to go in and pipe 5 of those heart-shaped petals. So think about head, legs, and arms. And you can go in and do them in that orientation, or you can go just clockwise. It's whatever really works best for you and gives you the best spacing. We're also going to be using the 5-part template for our flower nail. So if you want those fun little templates, you can go back and watch our video on the basics of using a flower nail and sign up for our email list and get that free little template for yourself, as it'll help with your spacing some. But sometimes I find playing around a bit with the order I pipe my petals can often help me with spacing if I'm not using a template. So just play with yourself a little bit while you're practicing these and figure out what works best for you. After we get our 5 petals on using our 123, we're going to switch over to using our yellow. I'm going to start with the number 6 tip and pipe my dot in the middle. So we think nice kind of flat disc-like dot. So just a little closer to the surface than you normally would. So you get nice, smooth, kind of flatter, lower profile center. And then we'll switch over to our 1 tip on our yellow, and we'll go around the edge of that and do our stamens. And so we just want to draw out and kind of mimic the motion of the petals. So out and just up a little at the end, and then some of them pull out almost at a 45-degree angle. And that way you'll have some that are almost laying flat right there on those petals for you, and some of them that are coming out at an angle, and it'll give that little frilliness of those stamens some depth for you and some distance between the kind of different layers and the ones at different orientations. It'll give it a nice natural feel. We're going to get started. You can see I've got my 3-inch flower nail, I've got my template on it, and I fixed just a little piece of parchment paper on top of that with some excess buttercream. I've got my bag of pink with my 123. I'm going to start at the outside edge of my nail and just move myself in. Think about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch in from the outside edge of your nail. And I'm just going to squeeze while I spin and lay on a ring of frosting. It's okay if you get interrupted. Just take your time and go all the way around. And you can see this gives me a low little ring there that's just going to give me a little support to help kick the outside edges of my petals up and also make sure that my flower petals are all connected and everything's nice and secure. We're going to start piping petals now, and I've got myself so that the fat end is anchored there right in the center, skinny end is pointing out, and you can see it kind of lines up with the division on my template. The back end of the bag is facing towards 130, and that's going to put me in that perfect position to pipe out, rock up a bit, and slide back down. And you can see those little petals are nice and supported. It gives them something to kick them up just a little bit more and give them a little extra height. So we're doing this nice little swing up with our tip as we go out to do the edges with the hearts. So just up, swing out, and back. I'm just going to keep doing that. For each of my petals. So just keep going around until you fill up all the spaces Make sure they're nice and fat. Come to the center. And on the last one, as we're ending, you might need to rock the back end of your bag up just a little bit to end it. Get in there and nest it right next to the one at the start so that you don't damage your first petal. So just kind of think about moving that bag up as you pull back slowly and just sliding it in there right next to it so that we don't disturb it. I've got my bag of yellow with my number 6 tip. I'm going to go right here in the center where all my petals meet. You can see it's a little messy in there. I'm not really worried about that because we're going to cover it up with our dot and our stamens. So I just want to go in the middle, right where all my petals meet, kind of close to the surface, just a little closer than normal, and give myself a nice flat disc. Stop, circle it around, and you can see it gives us a nice little flat button there in the middle of my flower that's nice and big, and that yellow is nice and bright and it kind of draws in your attention. Next, we're going to pipe in our little stamens. So I've changed the tip of my bag of yellow to my number 1, and I'm just going to start right here at the base, pull out. Think about pulling along with those petals, just kind of flicking up a little at the end. So just sliding along the surface and pulling up, and then you can go back and do a second layer and pull kind of at a 45-degree angle. And these, some of them will stand up, some of them will flop over a little bit, and that's going to be perfect. You can see that builds up some volume there with those stamens and really helps give it some dimension. So think about pulling it in layers. Start at the bottom. You can always do a little section and then come back and work on top. And just keep going around until you finish. So I'm just going to keep going around, adding layers, pulling out beautiful stamens until we have a nice full looking center. For ourselves. I'll just like to go around a couple of times, add in some more, fill in that area. So you can see it has a lot of movement, it has some depth to it, and it looks beautiful and frilly. That's all for this lesson on our prairie roses. If you like this one and you'd like to give some more a try, maybe try checking out some of our really traditional flower lessons like our rose or our daisy. Those are a great place to start for any beginner. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecoratingschool.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.